Hello guys, welcome to this video where we're going to learn about arrays. So this is the very introduction part of what's an array, and we're going to see two things from arrays. First, we're going to see how to create an array, and then second, we're going to see how to update a value in an array. Okay, now defining what's an array is a type of a data structure that stores data that can be one type or data that is of many types. Okay, so we have very many, not very many, but quite a number of data types, and array is one of them. Okay, so arrays are created by using array literals, and array literals are written by using square brackets. Now, with no much further ado, let's dive into creating an array. Okay, now by saying some comment here, I can say an array is a data type. Okay, so it's a data structure that creates data in a single variable. Okay, because that could be a simple definition of what's an array. So arrays keep a collection of data in a single array, and they are created using this array literal that looks like this. So let me add another comment there and say they are created using array literals. Then they use this symbol of square brackets. So whenever you see such a square bracket, know straight away that's an array that is in that square bracket. So let's create an array, a simple array of, let's say, books. Okay, there are many books that a student can use to learn. So we're going to create them based on their subjects. So let's use const, say const textbooks, and then assign it to an array. So just as it is right now, this is an empty array because there's nothing in between the square brackets. Okay, so if I try to run this, I'll get an answer of an empty array. So let's try to console log this. So we try to console log textbooks as it is, going to get an empty array. So you see here, these empty square brackets mean that this is an array that has no input inside. So let's start now by putting some content into this array here. So elements in an array should either be a number or a string or a boolean. Okay, so those are the three common data types that we put in an array. So they can be of a same type. An array can exist by just numbers, an array can have just strings, an array can have a mixture of number and strings. Okay, so for this case, I will create an array that has strings only. So our first textbook will be a mathematics textbook. Okay, so after putting that string there, I'll separate my elements in an array. So you notice I've introduced a new name, element. So element in an array, or an element, is any data that is found inside an array. So far I have one element. So I separate them using commas. Then I introduce my quotes again, add another textbook, let's say English. Let's add our last book, let's say science. Okay. So array so far has three elements which are of type string. Now we want to see how can we access these elements. We have created our array which has three elements. Now they are not of any use if we cannot access them and use them in our program. Okay, so I already have my console log here that logs out the textbooks in our array. So if I run this, I will have my array there with the three elements. Okay, so far I can access all the elements in my array. Now what if I want to access only one element in my array? How do I access that? Now one thing that we need to know, arrays are always index-based. What do I mean by index-based? Every element in this array that you see here has an index. Index is a position, okay? So if I could write a comment on top here, okay, and then assign these elements arrays. One thing in arrays in JavaScript, they are always zero index based. By saying zero index based, we mean we start counting the indexes from 0 rather than counting from 1. So our first element, which is mathematics, has index 0. Okay, and then the second element in this array has index 1. And then we have our third element in this array, which has index 2. Okay, so those are our indexes. So our first element in this array has index 0, the second element has index 1, and then the third element has index 2. So once we know this, now we are good to go about accessing singular elements from an array. So let me comment out this and then access the first element in this array. So how do we do that? So I will use my console and then put my array variable name, that is textbooks, okay, and then use our square brackets here, meaning I want to access something from the array, and then use indexes, okay? So if I put index 0 here, I mean I want to access the element found in the textbooks array at position index 0, okay? So from our code here in line 5, we know that element mathematics is the one that is in index 0. So I want to access this element here. So let me run this and see whether I can access mathematics. Yes, you see there, I have accessed mathematics, which is the first element in my array, okay? So what if I want to access the second one? So I'll use my log, textbooks, square bracket. Now, English is in which index? Index 1, okay? So I put in index 1 there. If I run this, I will have my two separate elements. So I have maths and I have English, okay? So accessing the last element, of course, we use index 2. So textbooks, then square brackets 2. This means the third element in the array. Now I have all the three elements displayed in the output. So that's how we access elements in an array, by using their indexes, okay? I hope that is clear. If I try to access an index that is not in this array, I should see some error, okay? So let me access an array at the index of 5, because we know we don't have an element in index 5. So let's see what will be the output. Yes, so we'll have undefined, simply because there is no element in index 5, okay? So far, we've seen how to access elements. Now next, let's go how to update elements in our array. Now you notice so far, we have 3 elements in our array. Suppose I want to add the 4th element in the array. What do I do? So what I will do, I do not need to come and manually add our element here, okay? We can programmatically add that element. We just come and write our array name, okay? Put square brackets there. Say which index do you want to put that element. So far we have index 0, 1, and 2. We want to add an element index 3, then assign it whatever name that you want to assign that element. So let's say we want to add another textbook of technology, okay, or information technology. We have information technology. Okay, So I have inserted an element in index 3, and that element is information and technology. Once more, I want to log out. Now let me comment, let me have this written fresh, and then log textbooks. Okay, so I will comment out these other logs so that I remain with only this one. I can clear them all together. So I expect to have now an array that has many elements, 4 elements. So, okay, now we have our array here. Now, what if I want to change the name of the third element from science to science and technology? Okay, so I want to update this name that is already existing from the element that is in the array to another name. So also I do not need to come and manually change it here. I just need to target the index of that element and then give it whatever value I need to give it. So I come and write textbooks. So which index is that element of science? Index 2. So I come and say index 2 there. Then assign it whatever new name I want to give that element. So which is science and technology. Okay, so I will run my function again and see whether do I now have science and technology as the new element name. Yes, so you see here our array now has mathematics, English, science and technology, and information technology as our textbooks. Okay, now before we do the last bit of this video, I want to make it known to you that not only arrays use index-based or zero index-based system to access values or to access elements or to access anything inside a certain data. So strings also do use the same principle of index-based access. Okay, so let's say we have a name. Okay, let's say we have a name, so a variable there. Okay, and then say that name is Mike. Okay, now I could want to access one of the letters from this name using index-based system. Okay, so this name has how many letters? It has 4 letters. Okay, so these 4 letters can be accessed using index-based, meaning the first letter is in index 0, the second letter index 1, okay, that letter index 2, fourth letter index 3. So suppose I want to access letter K. What will I do? I will console log it first there and say name. Okay, then say name and then use the square brackets. Okay, so I want to access letter K. So letter K is in which position? 0, 1, 2. So I want to access the letter in the second index position. So running this, so I will comment out this to reduce the amount of output that I need. So run this. Okay, so you notice here I have letter K outputted. So not only arrays use index-based system to find any element or any letter inside a string, or any element inside an array. Okay, so that's how we access elements from an array or characters in a string. So the last thing we're going to cover in this video is how to determine length of an array. So far we have 3 elements in our array. So forgetting about this element that I just added, okay, and forgetting about how I changed the name. So there is a way that we can find how many elements we have in an array. So as you can see, we have 3 elements, but assuming we had an array that had more than 100 elements, we could not count them because of effectiveness. It's not effective to count 100 elements. So JavaScript has a method known as .length. Okay, so we use .length method to know how many elements are in an array. Okay, So for example, if I want to know how many elements are in this array, I'll say the array name, that is textbooks, dot length. So by doing so, I will get an answer of how many elements. So by doing that, I will get to know how many elements are here. So how many elements are in this array? 3. So I'll get 3 as the answer. So to make it practical, let me log out or console log out the array name, that is textbooks, and then dot. I want to append the method of length there and then see what will be the answer. I expect 3 as the answer. So there we go. 3 is the size of the elements in our array. So I hope that's clear, and see you in the next video. And in the next video, going to learn part 2 of arrays.